This is the Di Martino Slow Food Live series. You say pasta. We have four, or really five. Like we have five amazing chefs today, and we'll be talking about Puree. Did you say so? We are. By the way, am Felix Way. I'm the network director for Slow Food USA. Slow Food is an international organization and movement that started in Italy. We are dedicated to good, clean, and fair food for all. What I love about Slow Food in the US is that it is a grassroots network made up of volunteer leaders from across the country working together to improve our food system. So we have good, clean, and fair food for everyone. Um, Today, our Slow Food Live, we're really excited to host the second session in our three-part World of Pasta series. We have four chefs and one pasta shape, Puree. Chefs Elizabeth Faulkner, Rocco DeSpirito, and Caroline Glover will show how many different ways you can interpret Puree. And Chef Fabrizio Ficini is our host. Now, next week, we have our third installment on May 21st. It's gonna be really fun, called The Soul of Mac and Cheese, which showcases macaroni and cheese is like thing that we all kind of know and love from our childhood, and the delicious impact of Black chefs with this cuisine. And Chef Eduardo Jordan will cook and chat with Adrian Miller for that session, our third session in the series on May 21st. So before we jump in, I know I'm eager to see how this pasta being made, but I want to thank Pastificio Di Martino, the sponsor for this event. I wish I had some pasta bags to show. I know our chefs do, so you'll see them. Since 1912, Di Martino has brought us 100% Italian high-quality pasta worldwide. Di Martino pasta has been made from 3 generations by a successful encounter of selected 100% Italian durum wheat semolina with the purest local spring water. Their bronze dye extrusion and slow drying process at a very low temp help make it fall under the PGI Granano pasta mark. So the result is this incredibly tasty, healthy, highly digestible product, which perfectly holds sauces and returns the fragrant aroma of fresh wheat. And again, today we'll be working with Di Martino's Puree, which is out of this world, and hopefully something you'll be able to use more often after today, or inspired to use more often. So today's program, You Say Pasta, is based on what's an amazing program that our French chef Phil Jones has done in Detroit about You Say Tomato, where we take one ingredient and show different ways, different cultures, different chefs' interpretation of that one ingredient. And by the way, before we keep going, I do want to say happy holidays. It is Eid today. So happy holidays for those participating in Ramadan and Eid. It's a big holiday today. But I'm going to hand over to Chef Fabrizio Ficini. Chef is a person I'm really honored to work with the Cooks Alliance in the USA. He's one of the longtime coordinators. He's also founded the Italians Feed America program in response to COVID, donating immense amount of food and time during this pandemic. His energy is boundless, and I'm really grateful for him hosting today's chef session. So without further ado, handing it over to Chef Fabrizio Ficini.
Hi, everybody. So as Felix described it, the pasta that we have here, it's a paccheri. And he described very well the quality of this pasta that is made in Gragnano, particularly this one from Pastificio Di Martino. It's one of the best that we have in Italy. So like you say, it's a very good product. Many chefs use it for all the property that pasta has, also the texture, the taste, the quality. But now today we are gonna demonstrate a little bit like how we can use that pasta in different way. I have a simple example. I did one time cannoli with that pasta. So I was boiling that pasta, pre-cooked in hot water, and after I was frying it, and it looks like a cannoli shell. And after you have only to fill it with some ricotta. It's very easy, but you know, it's a way different way to use the pasta. So I use it like that. Today we have 3 amazing chefs, American amazing chef. We have Caroline Glover that nominated many times James Beer by the James Beer Foundation. Best Chef nomination also in Colorado. So I think that today she's gonna use the pakeri in a way baked. She's gonna bake the pakeri. So she's gonna show us how she used the pakeri. Hi, Caroline, how are you?
Sorry, it took me a minute to figure out how to turn on my video. Yeah, this is my first time using this shape pasta, and when I saw it, I already par-baked some of ours. I just thought that it would be a really great baked pasta, just a way to have a dish ready to go. I don't cook a ton in my house, so I was thinking about something that I would like to make, and it could sit and serve just as well. So I already cooked these off for about 10 to 12 minutes, just kind of like a parboil. In Colorado, it takes, well, the water boils at a lower degree, so you may not take it as far as I did or as long as I did. And was also just kind of thinking about what is in abundance right now, spring. And we have a lot of ramps. Unfortunately, this is like the last week of them. We had a really big snow. So when I was coming up with the dish, I really wanted to do mushrooms that were in season here with ramps. All the mushrooms froze over last weekend. So I'm just using a cremini, but still, you know, a beautiful mushroom. So I'm gonna I have some of it already prepared because this does take a minute, but I'm gonna get a few things going. I'm making just a super simple tomato sauce. These are just crushed canned tomatoes, just crush them with my hands. And I'm gonna get the sauce going right now. So I just have some garlic and onion, probably one garlic or probably two garlics microplaned, one whole onion. I'm just gonna get everything going over on the stove so it can sit and simmer while we get everything else going. A good glug of olive oil.
From Italy?
Yes, of course. Are you kidding? So I have my onions and garlic going right now. As soon as those kind of saute a bit, I'll add the tomatoes. While that's going, the way I like to use ramps, the bottoms are just like the cleanest. I just basically use it as garlic, but it has like a really unique, fresh spring flavor. So I'm just gonna kind of small chop those guys up and get them sauteing. And this is gonna be the ricotta mixture. So in the ricotta, we'll have ramp bottoms, and then the tops are beautiful. I'm gonna cut them really small and saute those as well. I'll add in the mushrooms first. Once the bottoms get a little bit darker and a little bit more translucent, mushrooms will go in, and then ramp tops will finish. The ramp tops will cook super, super quickly. So we have that all ready to go. In another pot or bowl, I'm gonna get ricotta, 4 cups. It's 2. Parmesan cheese, because more cheese. I'm a huge fan. I would do like a quarter of a cup, half a cup. A little bit of chili flake. Just adds like a nice spice. It's a heavy dish because of that ricotta, but the tomato sauce really adds nice acidity, and the heat just kind of comes through at the very end.
Okay.
So you can kind of hear everything going. I'm gonna keep an eye on my sauce. Go ahead and add the tomatoes in. And we'll just let that go for a little bit. I'm also gonna put some smoked paprika in. It's a flavor that I really enjoy. It's nice and a really light tomato sauce. So the bottoms are getting kind of all nice and translucent. I'm gonna add in our mushrooms. Finish mixing up. Don't forget salt. A healthy dose, more than you would normally think, but a lot of richness cut through.
Did you salt the water before to cook the pasta? I assume yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you want to season as you go along. You don't want any element to not be seasoned or it won't be balanced.
Sure.
Perfect. And this is a dish I'm going to use for the baked pasta. You can use any sort of Pyrex or any dish you have around. I like the circle one because it looks really pretty. I hear the mushrooms going. So we're almost there. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of salt as well. And you don't have to use mushrooms. I just like the meatiness of it. I've also made it with anchovies. I'm a huge anchovy fan. So if you want to take out the mushrooms and put anchovies in, if you don't have access to ramps, which it's such a small window and not everybody has access to them, green garlic would be amazing with this. You know, just something bright. It's been a long winter, so it's really nice to be able to use some green things right now. So I just added the ranch tops in. And I'm just looking to wilt these down. I don't want it to go too far. Give me a tomato sauce to stir. Normally I would probably cook this another 20, 30 minutes, something like that, so all the flavors can really marry. But I'm gonna go ahead and add in, I have a little bit of cream. I like to add cream to a lot of my tomato sauces, especially with baked pastas, just to kind of round out that acidity so it's not super sharp. It smells good. So this is a mixture that I'm going to be putting into our ricotta. So it's the ramp bottoms, mushrooms, ramp tops. Again, you could throw anchovies in, really whatever you want. We're just trying to keep it a bit more simple. So this is our mixture. I like to add it in while it's warm, just so it gets really fully incorporated. And I have a pastry bag. I know that's not something everybody might have at home. So a Ziploc bag totally works. This is just an easier way to fill your pasta. And after I parboiled this pasta, I just hit it with a little bit of olive oil so it doesn't get sticky, stick together. Put that off to the side. So this is our ricotta mixture in the bag. So ricotta, Parmesan, your ramps, your mushrooms, a good amount of salt. Get that tied off. And your chili flake. I'm gonna give this sauce a quick stir. So I just cut a hole. I'm gonna actually go a little bit bigger because our pasta is so wide. This is the pan I'm using. Oops. Okay. So the pasta sauce, I'm gonna put just a little bit in the bottom. You want the pasta kind of soak up this tomato sauce while it's cooking in the oven. And that's why you want your pasta to be al dente. You know, you don't want it to be taken to where it's ready to go. Mine has a pretty good bite to it, but it's gonna be hanging out in the oven for about 30, 40 minutes. So you really wanna make sure you don't have mushy pasta by the end of it. I'm gonna move the camera down just so you can kind of see. So this is our pasta. And the way I did it is I just kind of line up. You're gonna line them up, fill it at the same time. And they should stick up pretty nicely. You kind of just go in a circular motion all the way around the pan. I won't make you guys watch me do this for 15 minutes. But you line them up like little soldiers and go in a little circle. And finish it with more pasta sauce on top, Just make sure you really cover it, make sure it gets coated. I take the pasta sauce about halfway up the pasta because by the time it's done cooking, it's really gonna soak up most of that sauce. And I have one finished because I watched a lot of Rachel Ray growing up and I saw her do this. This is a finished product. It's so beautiful. So this is our baked pasta. Let's see if I can, you kind of see it's got nice crispy edges, sauce on top. I put a little bit of Parmesan before cooking it, covered it with aluminum foil, did about 30 minutes at 350. And I'm finishing it with a little bit more Parmesan on top because it just needs more cheese and a little bit of fresh pepper. And that's it.
It's so nice. So it's the kind of version of cannelloni revisited by you, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. When I saw the shape, that's kind of where my mind went, was cannelloni, for sure. So this was just a kind of a fun way to do it. I like how it gets nice and crispy. I like the textures. And then you get, like, you know, the good saucy, cheesy goodness at the bottom.
That's nice. I like also the way that you dress it around like that, you know, using the, usually we put it on the other way and you did it on that way. That's very good. That's very good. Let's see if we have some question maybe from some people that they want to.
Caroline and Fabricio, we had one for you, Caroline. Does oiling the pasta deter the sauce from melding with the pasta is our question about your technique.
No, I have not found that to be the case. Honestly, because the pasta is just par baked, I feel like it soaks it up. When I put this in the oven, it was almost coming out of the pan. So I feel like it creates, and everything bakes together. So I don't think it deters it. I think it makes it a little bit easier, and it makes it so you can do this in a few steps. So if you don't have time to do this all at one time, you can get a few things ready to go and then finish it.
So we have also Emily who is asking where she can find some ramps.
Some ramps. Oh man, I can't give up my sources. No, I mean, I think some stores actually do have them, specialty grocery stores, specifically in the East Coast. Definitely in Colorado, it's very hard to find just because we don't have a very wet spring. But this year was pretty incredible. But if you find, you know, a really good friend that's a forager that maybe has a patch, that's the best way. But I have seen them in specialty stores for sure.
Okay, great. So, okay, Felix, do you see other question?
We can do one more. Michelle's asking how best you like to serve. Do you cut it like a pizza? Do you scoop it?
Scoop it. It comes out pretty easily. But if you let it, so you want it to let it kind of set after it comes out of the oven. You don't want to serve it piping hot or it's just all going to fall apart. But once it kind of sets, a scoop is the way to go. It's messy.
Okay, so it was a very, very, very nice recipe. I think that, can we find that recipe somewhere? I think that we are going to put it on the website, correct?
Yep, I will. I'm going to send it over. Yeah.
Okay, so like this, everybody who wants to reproduce that recipe and using, you know, that packery will be able to do it at home. So thank you very, very much for that recipe. Thank you for, you know, all you do. And I know that you are very active also over there with sustainability and also with the slow food. So thank you again. And I hope that I can taste one day your version of baked packery with ramps. I will come to see you soon. Okay.
Yeah, it's the best in Colorado.
We will be back in Colorado soon, I think, for the next Slow Food Nation.
I'm dreaming of it. It's my favorite.
I know. Okay, thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. So now we are going to go on the East Coast. Very, very talented chef book author and James Beard Award, Rocco Di Spirito. Rocco, are
Ciao,
you here?
Fabrizio. Hi, Caroline. How are you? Nice to
Ciao,
see you
Rocco.
guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Rocco, what are you going to do today with that pasta? I saw that you have a lot of pasta Di Martino.
I do, yeah. Like, you know, I'm a big fan.
The best
I'm a
supporter of
yeah.
Di Martino.
Yeah, so it's funny. I discovered this pasta in Italy about 7 years ago when I was writing this book. I had the privilege of meeting and knowing one woman named Concetta, who was a mother to 3 people, lived in town in Sorrento, and she introduced me to another 40 of her friends who each taught me a recipe that they make every day, basically their favorite homemade recipe. And so I was in Italy 2 times over 2 years to put this book together, to learn the recipes from them. This came out 2013-ish. And until then, you know, I'd eaten meat pasta, meat dishes with pasta, meat-based sauces my whole life. You know, my parents are both from Campania, and a sugo or ragu made with meat, very common. We eat it every Sunday. But I'd never seen the pasta genovese that I had in Sorrento. And the funny thing is, and Fabrizio backed me up in this, I never ate in a restaurant when I was there because all these lovely people always cooked for us. They cooked for the whole crew. They would never let us eat in a restaurant. And on one of the last nights of shooting, we ate at a restaurant and they kept recommending pasta genovese, paccheri genovese, pasta genovese. And I thought it was going to come with pesto or something like you'd find in Genoa. But instead, it was a meat ragu, a meat sauce. And it was basically meat and nothing else. I'd never seen a meat sauce that didn't have garlic or tomato, so I was super intrigued. And the pasta shape was new to me. And it was absolutely delicious. I mean, one of the most delicious bites of my life. We couldn't get enough of it. And I asked the women that I was working with, the ladies that I was working with, and they all had a different recipe. So I'm going to show you the recipe that I came up with, and I served you at the standard, I believe, Fabrizio.
Yeah.
I think you liked it. So let's start with the paccheri.
I'll let you go, okay?
Yeah, cool, no problem. Let me start with the paccheri. By the way, I count 11. That's my portion. 1, 2 for one person. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is enough for 2 ounces for a grown person. You can see that these are very large. Some people call them calamari tube shape. They will expand 2 to 3 times the size, so they will have a big bite. Apparently, in local dialect, paccheri means to slap, so it slaps. And you know how the kids say it slaps when it's good. So this pasta definitely slaps, no cap. It's one of my favorites, and to this day, it's one of my favorites. And thanks to Di Martino and Fabrizio, I actually can buy it wholesale, because until I met Fabrizio, I couldn't find it wholesale. I was going from sort of specialty store to specialty store to look for it. And of course, I have to put salt in the water. I usually wait till the water is boiled and then I put salt. And I put quite a bit for paccheri. Paccheri is very thick, very dense. It absorbs a lot of water. It takes 10 to 12 minutes to cook. And so you want it to be seasoned inside and out, coast to coast, top to bottom. And the only way to do that is to make sure the water is salted and tastes salted. So I just tasted the water to make sure it's salty. That's the only way you know if you salted it properly. Now, if you look inside my pan, you'll see I don't have a lot of water. I have very little water. I have maybe 1.5 quarts of water, because I want that water to be starchy. I want to use that water and l'acqua di cottura, the cooking liquid, to make my sauce. So I'm gonna cook the pasta in just enough water to cover it basically, and then another 50%. I know in America we're very used to boiling 6 quarts of water, 8 quarts of water every time we make pasta, but you really don't need that much water. So while that's cooking, I'll show you how to make the sauce. And again, there are as many versions of this sauce as there are people in Campania. So I start with some blade steak. It's a steak that has a lot of cartilage, some fat, some sinew. All of that will break down and become delicious and tender. I browned it first. Now, there's even debate about browning it. Some people don't brown it first. When I make it in a restaurant, I use a whole chuck roll and I don't brown it, and it comes out delicious. It's just a slightly different approach. So here are the main ingredients. This is celery, carrots, beef, and lots of onions. The sauce is essentially an onion soup, an onion stew. So it should be 3 to 1, onions to all the other ingredients. That's why I have a gigantic pile of onions. a very small amount of carrots and celery, and enough meat to season the pasta sauce with meat. It's basically an onion sauce seasoned with meat, finished with Parmigiano Reggiano. So, and the liquid, it's funny, we don't use stock or anything like that in this sauce. The thing with Puree is it sticks to the bottom of the pan. So definitely make sure in the first 30 seconds you release it from the bottom of the pan and you stir it well until the outer starch is solidified and won't stick anymore. So I cooked the meat in this pot. I've got a lot of nice brown bits. Now I'm going to add salumi scraps. This is leftover salami. You can use ham, prosciutto, salami, whatever you want. It's just to add a little salted flavor, a little cured flavor. I'm going to add the carrots, the celery, and then the onions. And the idea is to allow the onions to basically melt and form the cooking liquid, because there is no other cooking liquid. We don't add water, we don't add stock, we don't add wine, there are no crushed tomatoes going in here. This onion, the volume of onions and all the water that are in onions becomes the cooking liquid. Very different than any other sauce I'd ever made in my life. So very unusual, very, made me very curious. So for the past 8 years, I've been trying to perfect Paccheri alla Genovese. So why is it called Genovese? There are a lot of rumors. Fabrizio, I'm sure you have some lore that you can share. Some people say that the guy who invented his last name was Genovese. Some people say that the chefs who came down to Campania were from Genoa originally. Who knows? If you get to the bottom of this, please let me know. Now we add salt, pepper, and here you want to put a nice, not a handful, but a large amount of salt, because those onions will require that they be seasoned. Some black pepper, a couple of sprigs of rosemary. And when you ask the mothers that I work with in this book, Concetta, Francesca, Maria, how you do this, they always say, come with, how you want, whatever you want. They don't really have a specific way of doing it, although it seems like they all do the same thing, but they just keep telling me, do it the way you want. So again, the pasta, make sure it doesn't stick. Sticking a little bit because I'm talking too much. I can see that it's starting to become translucent at the edges, so that means it's starting to cook a little bit. And essentially, you throw all this in a pot, you cover it, and you let it cook for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, as long as it needs to become a sugo, stew, a meat sauce. The meat will fall apart, the onions will completely fall apart. It'll all become one uniform sauce, and it's really delicious. And it's sort of an all-season or a three-season, like a three-season soup. You can make this all year round. When I was in Sorrento, both times I was there in the summer, and you would think this is too rich for the summer, but somehow it works. The wine that they serve is all local and delicious and works so well. They serve white wine when I ate this pasta, believe it or not red wine. And that worked really well. So you'll see that there's just a big pile of onions, meat, celery, carrots, rosemary, the salumi, and a little bit of white wine. White wine is really just for acidity, not for it to, not a cooking liquid at all. It's basically a flavor agent. Let me check my pasta. So not sticking anymore, thank God, that's good. And pasta's really expanding. This pasta expands to the point where one or two or three of these are pretty filling. They're very robust and require, I think, a very robust touch. So Caroline's baked version of lasagna cannelloni smash up is a really great idea. All right, so these are just going to simmer and simmer and simmer until it becomes liquid. These onions will throw off 2 or 3 quarts of water. That'll become the stock. There's also debate about whether to brown the onions or not. To be honest with you, I've found that allowing the onions to cook until they're completely melted but not yet brown gets me the best result. When I brown them, I end up getting more of a French onion soup result, which is sort of what we're after, but not really. It's a fresher flavor than French onion soup. And I know you're thinking, how can it be a fresh flavor? It's cooked 2 to 5 hours, but somehow it is. Without the garlic, without the tomatoes, without the beef broth or chicken broth that we normally put in these sauces, It's a pretty light dish, believe it or not. Light for a very heavy dish. Let me just say that. So Rosella Petta says, some of the other stories say the nickname was O Genovese, which would be very accurate if you're talking about how the Napolitan talk, because O means from. So they'd say, O Genovese. Very cute, very cute. I like it. Thank you, Rosella, for that bit of info.
So Rocco,
yes,
I made some search, and it looks like that some people from Genoa were hanging on the port of Napoli. Okay. So they invented that recipe. It looks like that the origin is that, and the first who nominated the pasta alla Genovese was Ippolito Cavalcanti. In a recipe book in 1837. So this is what I find online about it.
Ippolito Cavalcanti?
Cavalcanti, sì.
Amazing.
We have to check that book.
Yeah, definitely. So once the sauce cooks down after many, many hours, and again, this is going to be one of those all-day ragouts, one of those all-day sauces. This is a braised, stewed kind of sauce, not something you can make quickly. I'm sure, there are plenty of onion sauces that you can make quickly, but this one with the meat won't be made quickly. It takes a while. Once it's cooked down, it looks sort of like this. I'm going to heat this up. This has been refrigerated. Made this yesterday, and it looks like beef stew, a lot like beef stew, like a white beef stew. The carrots tend not to fall apart completely. The celery, the onions tend to completely sort of melt and fall apart. And the other part of the sauce that's going to be super important is the water that I'm cooking the pasta in. Now, if you don't stir the paccheri a lot, they can break, and it's very disappointing when they break. So try not to break them. They look beautiful before they're broken, and then once they're broken, I tend to throw them out and not serve them to people or eat them. But they're going to take a little bit longer to cook. I'm going to cut one in half just to show you what place we're at with cooking or doneness, so you can see inside. One way to tell is the little ring inside, and I know there's a lot of steam in this room now, so it's hard to see, but if you looked at this pot, if you can see this pot closely, you'll see that there's a ring of white starch that the water has not yet reached, which means it still needs to cook a little bit more. Even when this pasta is fully cooked, it never becomes melt in your mouth tender. It always has a bite. It always has a chewy firmness to it. I'm not sure how they do it. I think it's the Gragnano pasta process. It's the type of wheat they use, the slow drying, the slow cold drying method that keeps it so intact. So this is not really pasta you have to worry about overcooking so much as getting it cooked. Getting it cooked is the hard part with this pasta. It never really overcooks. I've tried, believe me. You can cook it for 20 minutes and it won't overcook. And then it's great the next day. Whatever you make with it, you'll find that the next day it's even better. And it still doesn't overcook. Even after you reheat it, it doesn't overcook. It's extraordinary stuff. I'm pretty sure it has a lot to do with the way Di Martino makes it. But every paccheri I've tried has that quality to it, that firmness and that like rugged quality to it, which just gives it a wonderful bite, and it checks all the boxes that you want to check with pasta. It's homespun and heartwarming and filling and sticks to your ribs and just makes your soul and your mind smile. It's incredible. Let's see what Amy Pantano says. Thank you. Yes, we will definitely send out these recipes. They will be available through SoFood somewhere. Mary asks, do you simmer it covered? Yes. Ideally, you're going to cover it and leave a little space open for steam to evaporate, but definitely going to be basically a covered stewing situation.
Rocco,
probably could. Yes, sir.
I have Rosella also asking, what type of wine do you recommend?
Again, so in Italy, they're so forgiving and so wonderful about techniques and ingredients. Whenever I asked, they said, whatever you have, whatever there is, whatever you have, whatever you want, usually white wine. I'm sure this would taste great with red wine. I've tried it with all kinds of wines, from Fiano di Avellino to Chardonnay to Sauvignon Blanc to Pinot Gris. I mean, they all worked fine. all we're looking for the wine to do is provide some acidity, and all white wine has acidity and a little bit of that fruit forward, you know, a little bit of the fruitiness that you get from the grape extraction. That's really all we're looking for. We're not looking for it to do much more than that. And basically any wine will do that. So this base is now heated and it smells insane. So good. I'm going to now add the pasta to it. And you're going to see that when I take the pasta out of the pot, I'm allowing a lot of water to drip in. I'm keeping the water, and I don't drain the pasta pot. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do, you know, make that dangerous trek from your stove to your sink with a big pot of pasta. I remember my mom did it. And when I started cooking, I immediately thought, why have we been doing this like this our whole life? We never needed to do this. All we needed to do was take the pasta out of the pot. So look at, this is what it looks like. You can see the pasta has enlarged 2 to 3 times. It's no longer a dark yellow color. It's now got a translucent white, yellow, beige color. So that means that a lot of water's entered it and diluted the color. So the color will change. That's another cue. And I'm just going to let it sort of simmer in the sauce. And at the end, we'll add as much Parmigiano Reggiano as I can afford. And that's the whole thing. And we're going to call it a day. And you can add parsley if you want. There's rosemary in the sauce. Taste some, you got to taste it to understand it. Parsley, I don't think parsley is like an official part of the recipe, but it's always nice. I like parsley because it provides a little refreshing break, a little bit of green herbaceousness to balance all that meat and all those onions. So usually I wait till the end, but I know we don't have a lot of time. And then, Fabrizio, please don't look while I do this. So if you want to commit a mortal sin that all the Italians will laugh at you for, but all the Americans will love you for, you can add some butter. This is not part of the recipe. It's not supposed to be in the recipe. Italians don't do this, but I'm going to do it.
Usually we add a touch of olive oil.
Olive oil, okay. So I find that the butter and the parm mixed together in this sauce just take it over the top. And yeah, do you dilute the flavor and you end up with basically a butter parm pasta dish? Okay, yeah, maybe you do, but it's so good. It doesn't matter. I'll add olive oil too. Why not? Let's do both, Fabrizio. Just don't tell our friends in Italy that I did all this. But I have to tell you, when you go to Italy and learn from the mothers who cook every day there, they say yes to everything. They don't really have a lot of rules, and they don't judge your choices. They're pretty cool about it. It's only the sort of the Italian culinary intelligentsia that are, always calling you out for the crimes against humanity. Little pepper. So you guys should be able to see, well, you can't because of the steam, but this is really starting to become a very beautiful and delicious stew. You want to toss it and toss it and toss it. I really hope the steam goes away soon so you can see it. And then when the sauce is coated on the pasta and the pasta is glazed, meaning it has a nice thick coating of the sauce, you're going to take it off the heat or turn off the heat and add your Parmigiano Reggiano. And I like to start with, a lot, right? Not a little. And then taste it and see if it needs more. It's looking amazing. So the color of the sauce will change the minute you add the parm and the butter. Normally I would stir and stir and stir this for about, I don't know, somewhere in the 3-4 minute range. But let's plate it. Let's see what it looks like. I know Chef Elizabeth, my dear friend, is anxious to get cooking. So let's put it on a plate.
Just put it on the side. In half hour, I'm over there. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Not so far. I'm not so far.
So I'm going to put it where I hope you can see it best. Is that a good spot? Maybe right here is a good spot. Can you see it there, Fabrizio?
Yeah, we can see. Maybe it's a little bit far away, but it's.
I'll move it up to the camera.
Yeah.
But what I want you to see is the pasta is intact. The sauce is not running all over the plate. The pasta is holding on to the sauce.
You get a nice texture and creamy.
It's sorry.
Nice
creamy?
texture and creaminess. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you. in fact, if it wasn't for Fabrizio, I would still have to buy this pasta in grocery stores. Here, let me bring it up to the camera so you can see.
Yeah,
That looks like a plate of happiness, no?
That's looks amazing.
If you want people to love you for your food, make them something like this. Then, of course, a little Parmigiano Reggiano on top. Always use the real thing, please. I can't stress enough how important it is to use authentic ingredients from Italy. When you're talking about using Parmigiano Reggiano, there is only one kind of cheese. If you don't want to use that kind of cheese, then make something different. You know, it's very difficult to find substitutes for these things. These are ingredients that have been, you know, honed and refined over hundreds of years. And that's it. That's a fairly simple version of this paccheri that I love so much, and I can eat for days.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rocco. How is it?
Oh my God, so good. I haven't had this in a while, so very happy you made me make this today.
I bring the wine, okay?
Thank you. So good. See any questions, Chef?
So let's see if we have some question from. No, it's all compliment. It looks amazing. Bravo, Rocco. Que deliciosa ricetta. We have some people in Spanish also. Okay, some people say you can find the Di Martino paccheri at the fresh market store, other Di Martino shape in measure, all food as it, Kroger, Albertson. Yeah, this is where you can find the pasta. So maybe Felix, do you have some question for Rocco that you see?
No, you guys did a great job answering questions on the fly. So, and we can always have time in the end too. But thank you for taking all the questions while you're working,
Thank you so
Rocco.
much.
So Rocco, thank you so much. You know,
My pleasure.
everything you do is still amazing. You know that I love you. You know, and I love your
Yes,
your food.
absolutely. I love you too.
So thank you again to be with us today, and I see you soon. Okay.
Absolutely. And thank you to Slow Food for having me.
Thank you so much. And now we are gonna jump on the West Coast with a rock star, Elisabetta. How are you?
I'm good. Ciao, buongiorno. I brought my sword just to show Rocco.
Rocco.
This is not that demo today, but this is another ancient old movement.
So we have Chef Elizabeth Wagner, chef and creative director of Chef Production. You have seen her in many TV shows and lately also in the what is the name? The tournament with Guy. What was the
Tournament of Champions?
Yeah,
I do a lot of those shows with Guy. Yeah, but also her name is Chef, which is a great documentary that's
that you are. It's already on Netflix, correct? Yeah.
Her name is Chef is on Amazon and iTunes and Vimeo streaming, all the streaming channels.
You are doing a very good job with this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Been working on another documentary that'll come out soon too. We're in post-production right now called Sorry We're Closed. And it features about 50 chefs across the country, shot all last year. It's pretty spectacular. So it's got a lot of messaging around everything that's been happening, but without all the news feed.
That's great. That's great. So,
but anyway, I want to talk to you about pasta today.
Sorry?
I want to talk to you about pasta today.
I want to talk about pasta, the paccheri. You know paccheri. You use it already.
So
what are you going to do today?
I'm making an Italian-American dish loosely because I always still kind of put little Faulkner things and everything. So I'm using the paccheri. I already cooked some, so we're not going to have to wait for it to cook. But I'm going to do a really simple, kind of a twist on the penne alla vodka. So it's going to be paccheri, but this time I'm going to use a little grappa instead of vodka. I'm kind of this dish is definitely not an Italian dish. Adding cream and tomato and vodka to a sauce definitely originated in the United States, but I'm also going to tweak it a little bit with some Calabrian chili. And I've got some tomato puree. I'm going to add just the tiniest touch of colatura, which is Italian fish sauce. And it's just going to be that yummy kind of a little bit of spicy, creamy tomato sauce, but with these little nuances of the other stuff. So I'm really just gonna, I've got some pasta ready to go here. And I'm gonna bring up my water a little bit and take my al dente pasta and cook it a little bit more. So I've already got my salted water that I cooked the pasta in. And I've got a saute pan here. And I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. To this. And I'm gonna add, I just minced up a little bit of garlic and Calabrian chili, and I have a little bit of tomato paste here. I'm gonna get this kind of warmed. And I don't really want to fry this garlic so much. I just want to, this is a very quick dish. This is something I like to make when I don't have, I just came back from traveling for a couple weeks, so I don't have a lot of stuff in the refrigerator. And this is something that I can easily make. And it's kind of something I never really was I craved cream and tomato together kind of person until I lived in New York for 8 years. And then I had several pizzas, particularly like, I think it's Joe and Pat's from Staten Island. And they have a vodka cream sauce pizza that, like, I couldn't decide if I liked margarita or that vodka sauce more on a pizza for some time. So now now that I'm back in California after living in New York for those 8 years, I kind of crave some of those Italian-American dishes. So I've just got that a little bit sizzling here. Took it off the heat. I'm going to add well, first my pasta's almost there. Give me a second. I'm going to add a little bit of this grappa. This is just going to help emulsify everybody together. Got a little flame for you. Just had to do that. Just always dying to do stuff like that. Okay, and I got a little bit of tomato puree. So this is going to be the base of our sauce. I'm going to add, I told you I was going to add a little bit of colatura instead of salt. Very salty with that amazing umami flavor. And now I'm going to just take out my pakri. And I'll take a little bit of the pasta water. It's going to help finish cooking the pasta and help getting the sauce together too. And I'm going to add just a touch of cream. So it's going to be like, sometimes people just use dried chili, but I love those Calabrian chilies in oil. And I think they have a little bit more crazy spice to it, like it's just got a lot of depth. And then I'm just going to like let this pasta cook in this sauce a little bit. So I added some of that pasta water to dilute the sauce, but now I'm going to cook, like dehydrate it some more. So it's doing two things. It's helping finish the sauce, and it's also finishing cooking the pasta. And of course I have some Parmigiano Reggiano here too. And I'm so happy to be doing this with Slow Food. This is one of my favorite books. I have it right here. Ooh, I'm going to add a little bit of, I've got some dried oregano. I do like a little bit of oregano in here. And then I'm going to add, instead of basil or fresh oregano, I'm going to use, I've got a little garden outside, so I'm going to use some marjoram. Love marjoram with this sauce. And I've got a little bit of Nepentella too, which is kind of in the mint family. And those are two of my favorite sort of other herbs with tomato.
So it's a very, very easy and a fast recipe. That's very good for the people to do at home and to reproduce.
I think so too, and I think it's just got a couple of, if you've got some fish sauce around, you know, I happen to have, I'm a fanatic of fish sauce, so I have some from Thailand. I have of course I have like the red boat kind, and I have colatura. And sometimes they're all very different tasting. It's 100% true. And I love that colatura. I actually, believe it or not, made a, I called it miso funky miso. It was a tiramisu with the slightest amount of colatura in it. So I'm going to add a little bit of cheese here. And then just bring this together.
So you know that the colatura, it's like now a month or 2 months that they just get the PDO. They are, you know, the DOP
Yeah.
denomination. Yeah, with a good friend of us, Pasquale Torrente, who is part of the association in Italy, in Cetara, and also the colatura now became a PDO product.
Amazing. You know, I get to go to Sicily for the first time late in this fall. And
When are you going now? This fall?
In September, end of September, taking a group of people for wine and food experience. Okay, so look at that.
I see it.
This is the kind of stuff you want to eat. I'm going to put it in a bowl here. I don't care if you're Italian, Chinese, Ukrainian, American. This is definitely something that people want to eat. I think I might have a few more than. I think I have a few more pieces than 11. I think I'm about 13. Hey, but it's Italian American, right?
But pasta, everybody eats pasta all over the world, so that's the good thing.
Exactly. So I have just enough sauce without it being too saucy. Put a little more Parmigiano, and then maybe a few of these fresh marjoram leaves on top. Just like that.
That's look amazing. I cannot come because you are too far. I'm gonna first stop to Rocco, and maybe next week you are gonna do it for me if I come in California.
Absolutely, anytime.
When are you coming back in New York?
I'm supposed to go to Maine sometime this summer, so maybe I will try to make a point of coming to New York also.
Okay. Step by.
I got to tell you, like, you know, you could certainly use vodka in this, but that little bit of grappa is not, and this is grappa di Nebbiolo. It doesn't like change the flavor of it so much, but it's a very subtle kind of nuance in there. And that little bit of colatura with the Calabrian chilies, it's really tasty.
Yeah, you have the heat, the salt from the colatura, and the grappa. You give that, and naturally the chili flakes that they give a little bit of heat.
I got to make this on the next Guy Fieri show.
Yeah.
Sure. This is comfort food right here.
So, what else do you think we can do with that kind of pasta? Do you have some other idea how to use it?
Do you want to bring everybody back on?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if Caroline is still here.
I mean, like, I would love this paccheri with carbonara too. I think paccheri carbonara sounds great. You know.
So, yeah, we have. You know, I was saying. I think it's yesterday when I was on the phone with you. I met a Mexican chef that we did a casserole with this. So basically, the same way that we fry it to do the cannoli, and after break it, and instead to use the nachos or the tortilla, we use it the pasta fried and in the Mexican casserole. That's another way to use it, you know. So there is many ways to use pasta in all over the world. Everybody has his interpretation of how to use the pasta. So, and it's true that that particular pasta from Gragnano, it's very versatile. And like Rocco mentioned, it also is difficult to overcook it because naturally the way that is produced, the wheat, the 100% durum wheat from Puglia, this one is made with some wheat from Puglia. And also the way that is low dry makes the difference. So thank you so much. Both of you. I think that Rocco has to leave, but thank you so much to everybody to join us today. I don't know, Felix, you want to say something?
Oh, this is great. I think like everyone else, I'm really hungry and I want to go get some pasta now. So I know there's a lot of questions in the chat about really wanting these recipes. So we'll make sure there's a follow-up email and we'll try to give you as many tips and as you can so you can reproduce what you saw today. So thanks everyone.